I've got my sticks out and everything. Good morning, welcome bienvenue, welcome one and all to another live stream. You'll see in the yellow corner, there's David Treacle, Chernick, myself, Gareth Wax of the Many Purple Hats. Together, we discuss changes and direction and ideas and concepts in modern sales with a view to helping you guys get better at doing this. Effectively, it's free sales tips and also some really thoughtful thinking points that hopefully you'll be able to turn over and turn into something even more magnificent. Today's topic, of course, is one time not to use AI in sales. What are you referring to, David?
Well, I don't know that many people who are not using AI at the moment. Do you?
I think the amount of people who are not using AI vastly swamps the amount of people who have decided I'm going to do it some different way.
So people are going on to apps like ChatGPT, and they're writing prompts, and they're getting lovely looking emails and proposals and text messages and all of this kind of stuff. And it seems to be really helping people save a huge amount of time.
Oh, buckets of it.
So the temptation is to use it more, and we'd certainly agree with that. Carry on using it, carry on training and practicing and getting out there. We love seeing your spam. We love seeing your work. Look, you're spamming anyway, right? This way, it makes it quicker.
Yes, we can get to throw it in the bin quicker.
You're writing shit in your proposals anyway and emails. At least you don't have to spend as much time doing it. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. There's no worse. In fact, it is probably a bit better than what most people write, I would say. I
tell you what, it's a sort of vaguely side note, and I'm not going to go way off on this tangent, but I think it's a really, really clever way of OpenAI selling their paid version, because the paid version produces very good stuff, whereas the unpaid version produces okay, easily spottable. And if you can easily spot that it's AI derived, it's probably because they're not paying for it, and that's what I mean.
Yeah. So it's, what is it, 20 quid a month, something like that?
Yes, 20 quid a month.
20 quid a month. So just get the paid version. Okay.
It'll make your bullshit sound less like bullshit.
Yeah. So, but it's still bullshit, but it always was bullshit. But now it's just quicker.
Yes.
And use the paid version, it's slightly better. And it's slightly better. Why, Gareth? It's because it's using more up-to-date data, isn't it?
It's two reasons. It's using generative AI that's more up-to-date, yes. But the latest version, 4.5 of OpenAI, actually does research and tells you where it finds the research from, which is very useful when you're trying to cite.
That's right, the sources, the citations. Yeah. So that's why people were using things like Perplexity, because it gave you the source. There's a whole democratization going on with the 20 or so different AI apps, and they all are vying to get the extra feature. And then when one does, they all get it. And so, it's cool. It's not a bad idea, I don't think, to have more than one going at any time, because if one of them disappears for whatever reason, then your whole investment in teaching it who you are and your language and what you're interested in and all of that kind of stuff, and your tone of voice will all be lost. All right, so you have to do the whole thing again. In fact, I probably recommend saving your key prompts, the prompts where you are describing your voice, just saving that somewhere. So that as soon as you lose access to whatever your AI or you happen to be, or you want to change, you want to try a new one, you've got it all there laid out ready. And
to drag it back to the central tenet, which is there is one time not to
use it.
AI in sales. And when is that, David?
There is one time. So it goes like this. It's like a lot of communication happens in sales. Yeah, there's process, there's strategy, there's communication, right? Your interactions with your team, of course, but also the person you're selling to. We're trying to get to know them. We're trying to figure out and uncover what their problems are, the problems that they are perhaps in the markets to find something that will help solve those problems. And what I'm seeing is that the use of AI has gone into any post communication. By that I mean you've had a conversation with somebody and then you are putting that into some form of email quote or a follow-up message or a confirmation or notes in your CRM.
Right.
And you're writing it down based on what your AI has told you they have said. It's paraphrasing, right? And AI really is, all it's doing is paraphrasing what you put into it. Yeah, it's creating better language to make it sound more professional, more punchy, or whatever it is that you programmed it to do. Yeah, more in depth. Just write me a paragraph on such a. But the time it does not work is in forging trust with the person that you are dealing with, because the person you are dealing with needs to hear their own words repeated back to them. Now you'll notice when you write a prompt in certainly the AI chats that the bots that I've used, is that quite often when you ask it a question, it repeat your question back to you. Yeah. Tell me the 5 greatest oil companies in Borehamwood that ever have existed, and it will say,
David. Oh yeah, here are those.
The 5 greatest oil companies based in Borehamwood that have ever existed are, right? And it's a great comfort to users when they see their own words being used back to them, because it's right, it's got my question. It knows the question. You don't even read the answer to believe that it's heard you.
Right.
So you must use that same lesson that AI is teaching you in your communications with your prospects, particularly at the most important bits. The most important bits are whenever the person that you are selling to expresses any kind of pain or goals or anything like that. So, those initial questions when we're asking them, what keeps you up at night? What is the overriding issue here? Their answer, we want to be able to write that down word for word. Yeah, their language, their words. Okay, and that is what we need to be sprinkling into our proposals and quotes and follow-up conversations. That is the thing that that is driving them, that is motivating them. If we're exploring it to get a bit more depth in it, tell me a little bit more about that. That sounds horrible. Tell me more. And when they're telling us more and they're wallowing in their problem, write those things down word for word. That's near the beginning. At the end, when we're doing objection handling, we talked a lot about objection handling recently. When we're talking about objection handling and they say, it's a bit expensive. If you put something like that into AI, a response to it's a bit expensive, it will start talking about costs and all sorts of stuff. But what it really needs to say is it's a bit expensive. Yeah. And so these are the times in sales where you are trying to demonstrate to the other person that you've heard their voice. Yeah. And those happen throughout that process.
It's a demonstration of the fact that you are not just a regurgitating machine, that you have your proper human faculties about you, of being able to disseminate what they've said, repeat it back to them, and then take action. And
well, watch this. So the one of the biggest complaints consistently about new business sales people is they just don't listen. And if you've ever heard anybody say to you, not just in sales or in work, but maybe at home, maybe your partner, Gareth, you're just not listening.
I hate that. Yes, I do recognize it.
Now usually we have heard. It's not that we haven't listened. We have heard. But we just might not agree with them. We might not want to go down that route of conversation.
Right.
We might have a challenge coming. Might have some clarification questions to ask. But the way that comes off is that we're just not listening. Okay, so if you are replying back to messages purely with AI and you are not at least introducing it with the words that came out of their mouth or the words that came out of their keyboard, they will be left with, and they report this, You can research it yourselves. They're just not listening.
Yes.
Okay. So first things first, please demonstrate that you are listening. How do you do this? When somebody says something to you, repeat it back word for word, write it down. Then you can use it again in the future with that same person. When they reply to one of your emails, start off your email with a demonstration, an acknowledgement that you've heard their voice, a demonstration that you've heard their voice, that you've read what they've said. You said, and then that first bit of the sentence, yeah, they will be left with the impression, the correct impression that you've heard them. And it is the correct impression because it forces you to do it.
Can I just take that a step further? The most annoying form of approach that is made to me often is when they mention or ask a question that is obviously contradicted by the first 10 or 15 words of my profile on LinkedIn. So, they say, I see you're building a thrusting agency, you're talking about X, Y, and Z, and you think, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. And it says, have you considered using LinkedIn to promote yourself? And you're thinking, but you've demonstrated that you've not read the first 5 lines of my profile. And it's that lack of care. The same way as if you write back to someone, they having written to you or you've spoken to them, and you ask a question which obviously shows that you haven't read what it is they've said. This whole regurgitation of what they've actually said to you shows that you've at least taken the time to take that into account. Of course, if you then ask a stupid question that is negated by the very thing that you just regurgitated, then more for you. But the truth of the matter is, it is a way of demonstrating that you are at least vaguely interested in the person you're responding to.
Exactly. So, loads of good things happen, by the way, when you start, following these instructions that we dispense. But one of the good things that happens here is, as we just said, that they are left with the impression, the correct impression that you are actually hearing them, that you are listening to them, which will set you apart from other people trying to flog them stuff. Yeah. All right. You will become, that person that she actually does listen to me. That's good. Yeah. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you understand exactly what they mean. Of course, there's an argument that says you never truly understand how somebody else feels because you are not them. You haven't had their lived experiences. You don't have the way their mind is wired and stuff like that. But if you get close, you can ask clarification questions. Yeah. Oh, clarification question. Can you just explain that a little bit more depth, please? Yeah. And again, write down what they've said. All of those things are incredibly powerful, those words that they have said. And if you use them in conjunction with AI, then you will stand yourselves miles apart from all of your competitors because almost nobody is doing this. Now, yes, it does take a little bit of extra work. Okay. But nobody ever said that AI was going to enable you just to sit on the couch and count the money as it comes in. Right? If you want that life, then you are not. If you want that life, then this is not a solution for you. I get it. I hear you. Yeah. Try and find something else. But for most people that realize they don't have to do that, they have to do some grind. In sales, the grind is in developing trust. Yeah. That's where you want to be investing your time.
I would say the killer app right now in sales is the building of relationship and trust. And not allowing it to be just an automated email stream, which is unfortunately the way in which most AI provision organizations, I'm not talking about Perplexity or Chat or OpenAI, I'm talking about the other ones who say use our AI sales tool and you don't actually have to interact with anyone.
Yeah, but essentially that is what the pitch is. Earn money in your sleep. It's always been the snake oil. And whenever we hear that, yes, it is tantalizing. And whenever we hear that, we know that it is flawed. Not least because, a whole load of bozos are going to be jumping on that bandwagon within moments. And you're probably late to the party anyway. Yeah. So it's really not going to work. Use AI as a productivity tool. To generate new ideas, to take you down routes that you hadn't even thought of yet, to assist with your creativity and to scale your creativity. The trust And as we've discussed many times, trust as a trust will supersede things like the quality of what you're selling. It will supersede in importance the price. Even, you know, people will sacrifice quality in order to get to deal with somebody that they trust. They will pay a little bit extra to deal with someone that they trust. They might wait a bit longer to get the person they trust for certain purchases. If you're selling a highly commoditized product, then knock yourselves out, turn it into a factory, switch your brain off, and just watch your money come rolling in, albeit at increasing or decreasing levels of profit, because of course that is a race to the bottom.
A friend of mine has made a lovely comment. Are we brothers?
Yes, no. We are brothers. We are brothers.
Brothers from another mother, I'm afraid, Leighton. No, we're not brothers, but we are friends, and we like discussing topics that help people do better in sales. And thank you very much for your attendance. David, would you take us home, please?
I certainly will. So everybody carry on using AI. Don't stop using AI. Keep practicing, honing your skills, improving your productivity, saving huge amounts of time. That's all cool. Reserve the trust part of your relationships to your own personal being, human to human. Major on that, and you will develop trust when everybody else is pissing that up the wall, so you'll be able to stand out.
There you go. You heard it here first. AI is here to stay, but the way you use it can often delineate you from all the competition just by inserting a little bit of humanity in there rather than just allowing the machines to run your life. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the what. There you go. And try and look after that mental health. Until next time, goodbye.